About Tank's power. How was his power to you? Was it really like devastating power?
I mean, he got power, you know what I mean? But it's more like he do a great job at landing it.
It's another Gervonta Davis fight, and it's time for another unwarranted intervention. This one comes from his last victim, and it's not even directed at him, but at Lamont Roach.
Because of who I'm fighting, and due to the fact that a lot of people might not know me outside of like hardcore boxing fans. So that's the thing, but that don't...
It won't be dumb to think Mayweather indirectly has a hand in this. We're almost used to him using fighters as tools against Gervonta Davis like he did with Shakur earlier this year. You could question why Floyd Mayweather is advising Lamont Roach against fighting Gervonta Davis. Perhaps it is because the last student he tried to tutor on how to beat Gervonta Davis found himself lying helplessly on the canvas before the bell would ring for the 9th round.
It's a big shot, you know, he know how to land that shot, you know, hit guys on the button and just get him up out of there, you know, because he an accurate puncher and he just know how to land that shot.
Frank,
Now, Floyd Gervonta Davis's former mentor and now his biggest tormentor has another tactic. Discourage them from fighting Tank Davis at all, but with Frank Martin as the tool. But is that really going to work, seeing how much Lamont Roach's pockets would be salivating for a huge payday? Besides, Lamont Roach had spoken in an interview on how privileged he feels moving from being the first fighter on fight cards to being the main event in such a short while. However, Floyd Mayweather has other plans for a fighter who isn't even under Mayweather Promotions.
You just gotta go in there and box. You gotta be able to box, you know, and just watch all the shots, you know, because he got them shots that if you don't see him, you know, he can get you out, and he's sneaky with it. You know, he can take a punch, he can give a punch too. So it's just like...
A good fan would advise him to instead focus on the fighters under the Mayweather Promotions banner who are having schedule as inconsistent as barring Kermel Moton, who seems more like the only good thing about Mayweather Promotions. The stable seems like one under a severe medical condition, with a mediocre Rolly Romero being the biggest star in the stable. Regardless, Floyd Mayweather at this point believes Lamont Roach is the fighter with the most need of his selfish, illogical advice. Floyd Mayweather believes Gervonta Davis is avoiding the big names in the sport. Hence, all fighters should avoid him as well, until he was ready to face some big test in the ring and meet some worthy competition.
Just being woke. With him, you gotta be woke in there. I've been saying that like the whole time leading up to this fight. You know, you gotta be woke, and I got caught with a shot, not being woke.
That's why Floyd Mayweather feels Lamont Roach should join other boxers in and around the lightweight division from 130 pounds to 140 pounds, and avoid having anything to do with Gervonta until he's ready to meet the likes of Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Vasily Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, Isaac Cruz, or Ryan Garcia. To Floyd Mayweather, Lamont Roach isn't in the class of boxers that would pose any threat or trouble to Gervonta Davis. Hence, he should hold the caveat he was sending out for free and run for his life. Floyd has learned bitter lessons from how Gervonta Davis battered Frank Martin. Hence, he is unwilling to share his boxing lessons with another opponent whose boxing skills and abilities would leave him bowing his head in shame one more time. The shame from Frank Martin was enough, and he wouldn't be willing to go the same painful route.
That don't deteriorate me. None of these people are outside with me training. None of these people are in the gym with me training. None of these people can do
If it's not a fighter whose boxing abilities have been tested and trusted, Floyd is unwilling to give out lessons. As for Lamont Roach, he's unlikely to listen to Floyd and Frank. After all, Floyd Mayweather was never picked as his coach, and Frank is probably just being bitter. Their words are simply as insignificant as words that were never said. Boxing is a sport of surprises, and we've seen a few of them before. Lamont Roach versus Gervonta Davis could just be another one. Tank is a beast with clearly no weakness to his game, other than the fact that he loses early rounds, a deficit he makes up for with his ferocity and pressure in the latter rounds. So far, he's almost 95% certain to bag a knockout once he gets into full gear. But Lamont Roach is no slouch either.
Help him become world champion and take things to that next level. And
it's shocking to see what Floyd has become. In the two biggest fights of the lightweight division, 135 and 140 pounds this year, Gervonta Davis versus Frank Martin and Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney, Floyd Mayweather repeatedly made headlines for the most irrelevant of reasons. He did not only pick sides, but he acted in a manner that was unlikely of a boxing legend. This time, his feud with Gervonta Davis got so much into his head that he had secretly called Gervonta Davis's opponent Frank Martin and given him tips on how to beat Tank Davis. Whether it fell on deaf ears or whether Floyd's instructions weren't just enough, we don't know. However, on fight night, Frank Martin, who seemed to put on a great show in the early rounds, fell short after 1 minute and 49 seconds in the 8th round. A devastating blow from Gervonta Davis took him flat on the canvas, earning Gervonta Davis the 30th win of his career. But that wasn't even where the problem was. The real issue was the involvement of Floyd Mayweather, who had clearly been at loggerheads with Gervonta Davis, having one of the most epic mentor versus protege feuds in recent history. Frank Martin revealed in one of his many pre-fight interviews that Floyd Mayweather had helped in some way ahead of the fight, hoping to get back at Gervonta Davis for being disrespectful to him. It came as a surprise to boxing fans and professionals when the Ghost Martin revealed he has been receiving advice from Gervonta Davis's former mentor and promoter, Floyd Mayweather. The lightweight duo locked horns in the ring at MGM Grand Garden Arena, Las Vegas on June 15th, with Gervonta "Tank" Davis retaining his World Boxing Association title.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what does being around a guy like Floyd do for you?
He could tell you, go run at 2 in the morning. You know, go do it when, cause not.
And, as expected, there was quite the trash talk brewing between the two. Still, going into the fight, Tank Davis was a heavy favorite. However, while appearing in the Pivot podcast, shared on YouTube before the fight, the challenger, Frank Martin, revealed the Mike Tyson-esque advice money Mayweather had been giving him to get the upper hand during his Gervonta Davis fight. Frank Martin admits advice from Floyd Mayweather gives him a unique feeling. As a result of this, Floyd Mayweather has now lashed out at those coming for his head. I do what I want to do and support whoever I feel. How's there a crime in that? What's wrong with Frank meeting me for advice? If Tank comes, I'd advise him too. So what's the problem y'all have with me?
My thing is, I've always been there for him from day one. We had a game plan, and my game plan was to help him become.
Mayweather had been in Davis's corner despite their split and the various differences between them over the years, and for the most part, Davis has always respected the former world champion. However, with the Davis-Martin fight, alliances surely did change, especially since the much-publicized online tussle between Tank and Mayweather some months ago. From his first match as a professional fighter, Tank Davis has fought under the guidance and tutelage of Floyd Mayweather, and that accounts largely for why he's had a successful career so far. But the same man who started it all is set to end it by handing Gervonta Davis his very first loss by training his opponent ahead of the fight. Davis made his debut at the age of 18 on February 22, 2013 against Desi Williams, who had a professional record of 0 wins and 4 losses, all by stoppage.
He was a young kid, came up to me when he was a kid, wanted an autograph. I signed his phone for him and told him, "You'll be world champion someday, and I'll be your promoter."
The fight took place at the DC Armory in Washington on the undercard of the IBF junior welterweight fight between Lamont Peterson and Kendall Holt. Davis won the bout via first-round knockout. By August 2014, Davis had recorded 8 wins and no losses, with all wins coming inside the distance. Davis took the 6-round distance for the first time in October 2014 against veteran 28-year-old German Meraz.
Years later, he was working with some people from our team because our team is huge. We got guys in DC, Baltimore, Philly, New York, all around. He won a few fights. I think
Davis knocked Meraz down in rounds 3 and 5 and went on to win a unanimous decision, with all 3 judges scoring the bout 60-52. And while Mayweather was present in all of these, but after Gervonta Davis's win over Rolly Romero, Tank decided to exit Mayweather Promotions. Regardless, Mayweather was still at his corner for his 29th fight against Ryan Garcia. But with Frank Martin, it was completely different after their altercation on social media.
Tell him again, no?
So when asked about whether there is anything Martin had learned from Floyd Mayweather before the fight, Martin had this to say: "He could tell you, man, go run at 2 in the morning, because 9 times out of 10, we know your opponent sleeps at that time. said the Detroit, Michigan native. Not that Martin specifically needed to train in those hours, but rather, as he explained it, doing it would give him a mental edge over his opponent, as these are the little things that make a big difference in the end. Martin emphasized that it's nothing that he didn't know or was a big deal, but coming from someone like Floyd, who has been at the highest point in the sport.
You go run at 2 in the morning. You know, go do it when, cause 9 times out of 10, we know your opponent sleep at that time. So go run at 2 in the morning and go give yourself a mental edge, you know, like, cause you know you out there working every night at 2 in the morning running.
You are gonna take a lot of heave to it, and it's gonna give you a different type of motivation when you do it, said Martin. He also added that even when Floyd shows something, a boxer might not be able to mimic it perfectly, but it'll give you a different type of feel about yourself. Interestingly, that's exactly what Mike Tyson used to do before his fights to gain a mental edge over his opponents. No wonder he became the youngest heavyweight champion and later, an undisputed champion. Running at 3 in the morning and chopping wood are just a few of the things Mike Tyson would do to gain an edge over his opponents. However, neither Tyson's training ritual nor Floyd's advice were able to stop Gervonta Davis from doing what he planned to do on fight night. Davis, who was coming off a year-long layoff because of the hit-and-run case he was involved in 2022 and spent 90 days in Baltimore prison, came out on top on fight night with an 8th-round knockout.
You know, he's the one who told Frank that I was running at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning Friday. He told Frank that. He was giving Frank tips and stuff.
The gap in his resume didn't dull his skills in the ring. Davis defeated Ryan Garcia in his last outing in April last year and finished off with a similar result against Frank Martin. In fact, leading up to Davis's fight against Frank Martin, Mayweather urged his fans to watch UFC instead after the two traded shots at each other on social media. Famous boxing reporter Michael Benson posted, "Floyd Mayweather and Gervonta Davis continuing their feud as Mayweather trolls Tank by posting that the Frank Martin fight has been canceled, and Tank responds, 'Keep talking and I'll pull up to your house and lay hands on you.'" Davis went on to knock out Martin in brutal fashion on Saturday, and in an interview after the fight, the boxing superstar revealed that Mayweather had tried to give his opponent tips on how to beat him.
Really? How'd you know that? Just word of mouth?
I seen his people's drive by while I was.
He was giving Frank tips and stuff like that, but I know for sure that wasn't going to be enough to beat me. It's cool. It's all right. I don't really think too much of it. He's not going to hurt me. You know what I mean? It's better to beef with him than to be cool with him. You know, he, Floyd Mayweather, was the one who told Frank that I was running at 5 o'clock. Gervonta Davis. As for Mayweather, he leaked unreleased sparring footage between a young Devin Haney and Davis. Following Gervonta Davis's win against Frank Martin, the former lightweight champion uploaded a video of a training session between Davis and Devin Haney to his Instagram account. The video lasts 18 minutes, and in it, you can see the boxers exchanging blows with protective equipment while Mayweather clearly coaches Haney. The video does not have much that is extraordinary. What has caused suspicion in the boxing environment is the moment that Mayweather chose to release it. On Saturday night, Tank scored another victory, beating Frank Martin by a resounding knockout in the 8th round. The fight marked the debut of streaming giant Amazon Prime in boxing shows. The win solidifies Davis's position as one of the pound-for-pound best of the moment, granting him leverage in negotiations for a rematch with Ryan Garcia or a fight against Vasily Lomachenko. Some think that the video was a petty attempt by Mayweather to tarnish Davis's victory somehow. Although if that had been the end, the boxer-turned-promoter made a mistake. As in the footage, you can see an out-of-shape Tank holding up without a problem against a Haney who was in fighting shape. But just about the same time Frank Martin approached Lamont Roach with his unsolicited advice, their match has suffered a big threat and is batting with the dangers of being postponed to next year. Two individuals connected to the business of Gervonta Tank Davis's World Boxing Association lightweight title defense against junior lightweight champion Lamont Roach Jr. have confirmed to Boxing Scene that plans for a December 14th bout in Houston are being reworked. One promising solution is to pair Davis Roach with the attractive light heavyweight bout between unbeaten talents David Benavidez and David Morrell, who are seeking a Jan 25 Prime Video pay-per-view fight in Las Vegas. That becomes a big event then, said one of the officials. While the 30-0 Gervonta Tank Davis had pushed for his next title defense to be placed in Houston, a series of situations made the effort wobbly, according to one individual. Davis originally sought to fight a lightweight unification against IBF champion Vasily Lomachenko or WBC champion Shakur Stevenson, but Lomachenko balked and the Stevenson talks stalled.
Tank, I know that there's been a lot of rumblings in social media that you want that fight. Y'all went back and forth. You wanted that fight for a few years now.
We never went back and forth. I'm the only one that's been saying shit. Tank know to keep his mouth closed when it comes to me. He don't say too much.
Because Davis will be heavily favored against Roach, Premier Boxing Champions has sought to beef up the card with a quality featherweight title rematch between newly elevated World Boxing Council champion Brandon Figueroa and Stephen Fulton after Fulton won their super bantamweight title fight in 2021. Former middleweight champion Jermall Charlo has also reportedly been mentioned to be on the card. That pay-per-view card figured to undersell during the heart of the holiday season and just 1 week before Alexander Usyk Tyson Fury 2.
So,
speaking of him, obviously, what do you think about this fight against Lamont Roach, man? Because there's a lot of people that are kind of iffy on it because, again, another guy moving up in weight. There's a lot of other guys that they prefer to Tank to see fight, including your...
With Benavidez Morrell potentially looming just 6 weeks later than the planned date, a return doubleheader featuring Davis and Benavidez would give PBC a strong launching pad to what could be a strong 2025. Premier Boxing Champion is also plotting a title defense in the ultra-deep junior middleweight division by its unified champion, Sebastian Fundora, and the promotion has staged the past 3 pay-per-view fights by 4-division champion Canelo Alvarez, who's planning to return on a Cinco de Mayo card. When he defeated Frank Martin June 15th in his most recent title defense on a Prime Video pay-per-view in Las Vegas, Davis, 29, professed his admiration for the 29-0 former super middleweight champion Benavidez, who defeated former light heavyweight champion Alexander Gvozdyk in that night's co-main.
Shakur, a lot of the other bigger names. What do you think about that fight? What was the first thought that came to your mind when that fight got announced?
I think the same thing that everybody else thought. Unfortunately, Lamont Roach, he got in his feelings when I gave my honest opinion. So,
Davis said then that he'd be willing to flip-flop roles with Benavidez from main event to co-main should the situation present itself. Benavidez versus Morrell, 11-0 is a hotly anticipated bout between Premier Boxing Champion stablemates in their primes. They currently stand as World Boxing Council interim 175-pound champion David Benavidez and World Boxing Association secondary champion David Morrell behind newly crowned undisputed light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev. PBC officials did not immediately return messages left to them by Boxing Scene following the initial report of Davis moving off December 14th by Dan Raphael's Fight Freaks United Substack.
Like I said before, after you fight Tank, win, lose, or draw, if you really feel some type of way about what I said, my honest opinion, then make me your next opponent right after Tank.
Roach promoter Gary Jonas, who owns ProBox TV and Boxing Scene, declined comment on the matter, as did Benavidez promoter Samson Lukowitz reports of Gervonta Tank Davis's next fight moving from its original December 14th date hit last night, and today Lance Pugmire of Boxing Scene is reporting that one idea in the works is to pair the fight with another planned PBC bout for a big show in January. The idea would move Tank versus Lamont Roach to John, 25, where the fight would team with David Benavidez versus David Morrell to create a potent doubleheader, combining Tank's marketability with Benavidez versus Morrell, which is actually a good fight.
Half the thing that I can do none of these people can achieve half of the things that I don't achieve. I'm in the position where I am for a reason. So all that stuff is just out.
This is no guarantee and far from official. It has to be noted, so don't count your chickens. But it's hard not to hope this will be the case, as doing one pay-per-view with both of these fights instead of 2 pay-per-views would certainly be welcome for boxing fans, who have seen their wallets battered more than ever, attempting to follow a sport that is, at this point, pretty much exclusive to pay-per-view and streaming services in the United States. It's also worth saying that individually, neither fight exactly promises to be a blockbuster. Roach, though a good fighter, has very little name value as Tank's B-side, and Benavidez and Morrell, while good fighters, aren't pay-per-view draws themselves.
Outside noise, and sometimes it, you know what I'm saying, it's training camp, so sometimes I get bored. I'm going to respond every once in a while, so, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
And that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.